Today is a special Thanksgiving edition of Locked On Mets where we got a pretty simple show. It's time to take a step back and appreciate the franchise right now because Steve Cohen has the Mets in a place that we never could have envisioned 3 years ago.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, here we are, Thanksgiving 2022. And I am so very appreciative of where this franchise is. And I think I did the same thing last year for my Thanksgiving show, which was just taking a minute to really step back and think about how far we have come in a few short years. To see the way the Mets went from being a laughingstock, as they were under the Wilpons, to maybe still having a little bit of that in them in 2021 to now in 2022, even though the season didn't end the way you would have liked. If we can reflect on it, outside of, 2015, best season in a decade, best season since 2006. I mean, I'm 27 years old, one of the best seasons in my lifetime. See the Mets go out and consistently win. What a baseball team owes you as a fan is a summer to remember. And, they, more than any other sport, with the constant games every single day, your emotions are always tied to your team. And outside of the month of September into October, this ball club gave you 5 months where there was really nothing to worry about, where they just continued to win series after series after series and just put themselves in that position. And if not for a Braves team that had a remarkable run in the second half or maybe the final 2/3 of the season, and the Mets would have won the division. And you can say what you want to about it, but they still finished with an identical record to Atlanta. So what a season we just watched. And now you just think about what this team can be and will be moving forward. I was looking through for this show, the largest contracts given out in franchise history. You know how many of the top 10 Steve Cohen has given out in 3 years or in 2 off seasons up to this point? Well, I guess 3 because Edwin Diaz cracks this list. 4 of the top 10. You got Francisco Lindor, 10 years, $341. You had David Wright, the second at 8 years, $138 million. Jacob deGrom was 5 years, $137.5. Johan Santana, same exact contract, but an additional year, 6 years, $137.5. Max Scherzer, a Steve Cohen contract, 3 years, $130, and the highest AAV in franchise history. Carlos Beltran, $119 million over 7 years. Yoenis Cespedes, $110 over 4. Edwin Diaz now, 5 years, $102. Mike Piazza, 7 years, $91, and Starling Marte, the 10th highest contract in franchise history, 4 years, $78 million. And he's sure to be knocked out of the top 10 this year because if Jacob deGrom comes back, if Brandon Nimmo comes back, or if they sign somebody else to replace Brandon Nimmo or to even replace Chris Bassett, there's a good chance there's 2 more 9-figure contracts handed out this offseason. Steve Cohen being able to continue to float this big payroll, to improve the stadium, to retire Keith Hernandez's jersey, to make it a point of pride to be a Mets fan. It just leads us to what's sure to be an incredible next decade plus of Mets baseball, where you can expect them to be a perennial contender. And on top of that, he continues to build around the ballpark. There's all these reports right now that he's trying to get a casino built over at Willets Point too. So that'll bring in, more Mets fans from outside of the city to come in and, have a whole weekend where you get to hang out at a casino and go watch some Mets games, and that's only going to drive up attendance, which is only going to trickle down to the ball club itself, and they're investing in player development and all these different things to put themselves into that upper echelon. And Steve Cohen is committed to it to a point where you just know that there's more good times than heartache ahead for Mets fans. Obviously, you can't do anything to guarantee success in October, but you know what? In my lifetime, it's been few and far between that they're even there. So I'll take, 10 years where the Mets make the playoffs 9 times. And I'll hope that a championship will come out of that at some point. But I just wanted to, again, which like I said, I think I did this last year as well, but we have to take a minute as fans to appreciate all the change that has been brought on this franchise, because it's been changed for the better, and it's put us in this position where it's a pretty good time to be a Mets fan. But it's also a good time to be the host of a Mets podcast, because I have something very special that I want to let you all know about. We'll do that next. First, though, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. I am very thankful for BetOnline because it gives me a place I can go where I can get that betting fix in. And also, they've been a great sponsor to us for a very long time. BetOnline.net is your number one source for your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. BetOnline is always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, today is a very special episode for me because I get to announce something I'm so very proud of and so thankful for on Thanksgiving of all days. The fact that the timing worked out that way. Sometimes life can feel like a simulation when things like this happen, but I am so grateful to be able to tell the audience that has tuned in for so long, some of you dating back to 2019. This was my 4th season covering the team, my 3rd full year, that I get to tell you that we hit 1 million downloads in 2022 for the podcast. And that is absolutely absurd to me. To think that even would have been a possibility in 2019, where, I had this career that was so focused on writing, and I was writing about really basketball and football more than even baseball. And that's really where college kind of took me, and I had the opportunity, to host Locked On Mets. And, what drew me to the network was daily. This was something that I was a fan of first. I'm a Miami Heat basketball fan. I listened to Locked On Heat. They gave me a show every day, and I loved that. And I was just thinking, can I listen to Locked On Mets? And I go to the website. I found out they didn't have a host, and I was dabbling in podcasting at the time. I was just having some fun with friends, and I had a podcast with my uncle, and didn't think of it as a career path by any stretch of the imagination. And I go to David Locke, the CEO, and have a meeting with him, and he was interested, but they were still looking for other hosts. And I ended up sending him some sample episodes, and he, for whatever reason, decided, as green as I was back then, that he'd give me a shot with no Twitter following, no nothing. And to see where the show has grown to, it's beyond my wildest imagination. Last year we hit 500,000 downloads. That was my goal. And we got there around this same time, around November, December, and I ended up a little over 600,000. And, when I hit that 500,000, I said, wouldn't it be incredible to get to 1 million next year? I thought the goal was a little lofty. I said, you know what, you can do it. And I just always have focused on putting out the best content I can. And so now to have gotten to this point where there's still a month left and we hit that goal of 1 million, I am so eternally grateful. Especially for those of you that really do make this, when we say your first listen every day, I know there's a lot of you that really do, make me that part of your routine. Those of you who have let me know that you listen with your son on the way to school, or driving to work in the morning, or driving home, you tune in, or if you wake up in the morning, you go for your jog like my dad does, and he listens. Or when he's walking the dog, he'll listen. So, I've gotten these stories over the years from you guys when you express your gratitude to me, and I always bring it back to you because you're the ones that tune in and listen. You're the ones that afford me this opportunity to have a career in baseball where I get to discuss my favorite team. And the thing I love talking about the most in this world is the New York Mets, and it has been that way since I was a little boy, and me and my dad were discussing everything, under the sun when it comes to this team. And, I started writing about them when I was 19 with Metsmerized. Shout out to them. They were amazing in the early parts of my career. I thank them so much. And to go from that, where it was more of a hobby, to the points that I'm at now, where it's much more than that. Again, I just am blown away. So the fact that I hit it right now, I'm recording this actually late on Tuesday night, going to be spending time with the family the next couple days. But I checked into the downloads right now, and I uploaded Wednesday's show, and I saw we were sitting at 999,500 and something. And obviously, as soon as Wednesday's episode drops, we'll cross over. It's incredible. It is incredible. Again, I cannot thank you all, the audience, enough. I can't thank the Locked On Podcast Network enough for giving me the tools and the support to get to this point and give me the opportunity in the first place. David Locke, so thankful for him for giving me this seat that I do not take lightly. I know how lucky I am to be the host of Locked On Mets, and I really do cherish it. I hope to be doing it for a very long time. And as always, the last thanks always has to go out to my dad, making me a Mets fan, and always being my number one cheerleader and my number one support. So thank you, Dad. Thank you to the rest of my family and friends. And again, thank you to the audience. I hope you all have an incredible time with your families and friends on Thanksgiving. And I'll be right back because Locked On Mets never sleeps, Monday through Friday. Give you another episode to close out the week. Right now, no news to discuss that I know of. So the plan is, late on Tuesday night as I'm recording this, to discuss extensions for Jeff McNeil and Pete Alonso. But if some news comes up, I will record something different on Thursday night. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, @Finkelstein Ryan. Make sure you follow the show, @LockedOnMets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On Sports today. Peter Bukowski has you covered. A lot of Thanksgiving football I'm sure he'll be discussing on Friday. He's got game reactions, breaking news, the take of the day. You can follow Locked On Sports today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts.